Hereby I open this academic ceremony at Maastricht University. First of all, I welcome Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha, and he will defend in public his thesis, Quantitative Imaging and Artificial Intelligence in Oncology. I welcome the three supervisors who are sitting just opposite to me. Professor André Dekker, he is Professor of Medical Physics and Clinical Data Science at Maastricht University and Maastro Clinic. The second co-supervisor I welcome is Dr. Wee. He is Associate Professor of Medical Physics and Clinical Data Science, also at Maastro Clinic and Maastricht University. And the third supervisor is Assistant Professor Traverso. He is Professor of Medical Physics and Clinical Data Science, also at Maastricht University and Maastro Clinic. I will introduce the 6 opponents later during the ceremony. They are all online. And of course, I welcome you here in the audience here in the aula, and I welcome all the followers of the live stream. Mr. Jha, may I invite you to give a summary of your thesis? Please go ahead.
Thank you. Dear Prorector, thank you so much for your kind introduction. Dear member of Corona, dear friends and family, for the next 15 minutes, I am going to summarize my thesis, Quantitative Imaging and Artificial Intelligence in Oncology. Artificial intelligence is process to train or make an intelligent machine which can either replace or outperform the human intelligence. Artificial intelligence has two main components, that is machine learning and big data. Machine learning is high-level computer algorithm which can be trained on big data accumulated from the past to predict the future. Big data stands for 5 V's, that is volume, that data should be voluminous; variety, data should have flown from various sources; and velocity, that accumulation of data should be fast; veracity, that data what we are collecting that should have integrity; then finally value, that data what we have curated that has value. Let's see how we can implement this artificial intelligence concept in oncology. If you see that conventional oncology, this diagnosis is made with the help of imaging as well as pathological report, and with the help of imaging, pathology and biomarkers, we do stage the disease and we plan the treatment. And the planned treatment is executed, and during the treatment monitoring is performed with the help of imaging as well as blood parameters. And post-treatment follow-up is performed with imaging and blood parameters mostly. But many a time we see that the treatment fails and disease reoccurs. And in that scenario, we restage the disease and we offer the suitable treatment to the patient. If you see the entire algorithm of oncology practice, that imaging plays a very important role in this. Mostly in conventional oncology practice, a disease population in particular disease group is considered as one, and they are offered a similar kind of treatment. But whereas if we extract tumor and subject that tumor with biomarker testing, then we are able to categorize these patients in various subgroups. And if we treat that subgroup with a suitable kind of treatment, then disease treatment outcome becomes better. Here, these biomarkers can be replaced with imaging based biomarkers, that is radiomics and machine learning. So radiomics is a process to extract high throughput data from medical images by using advanced mathematical and statistical algorithm. And radiomics workflow has many stages. So in first step, we segment the image, mostly tumor, and then we do pre-processing of that image. We extract radiomic feature. Majority of time, these radiomic features are intensity-based features, shape-based feature, and textural features. Then we perform feature selection, and on selected features, we develop a prediction model and validate it. A properly validated model may be utilized in clinic as a decision support system. So the scope of my thesis was to investigate the role of artificial intelligence and radiomics in oncology, radiomic reliability studies, then to develop AI infrastructure in a hospital, because we come from a country where we do not have proper developed infrastructure to perform these kind of studies, then validation and scalability test of the radiomic feature, and then future roadmap. In chapter 3, we investigated the role of prediction model in cervical cancer. Here we performed a systematic review, and with our inclusion-exclusion criteria, we were able to select 39 features, and they were grouped in 5 groups based on the prediction outcome. And we developed a synthesis and meta-analysis, and based on our synthesis and meta-analysis, most of these studies were found to be significant. However, heterogeneity and publication bias was noted in meta-analysis. In chapter 4, we investigated the role of radiomics in oncology. Here we performed literature survey, and we found more than 2,000 publications in radiomics on MRI, CT, and PET. And these publications were predicting clinical endpoints, various kind of clinical endpoints in oncology, mostly in solid tumors. So we concluded, and we also found the many studies on radiomic stabilities. So we concluded that radiomic features are evolving as imaging biomarker in oncology. However, radiomic feature stability need to be assessed before developing prediction marker based on radiomics. In chapter 5, we performed a radiomic reliability studies, where we standardized the repeatability and reproducibility studies based on our phantom data and clinical cohort. We used phantom data to perform that repeatability study, and phantom and clinical cohort to perform repeatability as well as reproducibility studies. We tested various parameters, and we were able to identify 138 features which were repeatable as well as reproducible. However, when we performed a study, clustering study, we were able to find that majority of these features were having association with each other. So we concluded that the robust radiomic feature identified in this study should be further investigated, and these features should also be investigated for the prognostic and predictive performance in oncology. In chapter 6, we developed a GUI-based radiomic extraction module. This is extension of PyRadiomic package, just to make it more comfortable for the person who is not having very good knowledge of computer. And this software can take input in DICOM format, and it can do batch processing. We have tested up to 100%. It is also tested on PET, CT, and radiomic images. More importantly, the output of this module is in CSV format, which can directly be utilized for prediction modeling studies. In chapter 7, we developed a fair compliant AI infrastructure in our hospital, and it has 3 pipelines: clinical pipelines, DICOM, and radiomic pipelines. In clinical pipelines, we have used 2 modules. One is ETL module, which is able to extract data from our HIS system and convert it to in the CSV format. And second module is able to convert this CSV in RDF format using NCIT and RU ontology. In DICOM pipelines, we used a module which can extract DICOM header from image and convert it into the RDF format. And in radiomic pipelines that this module is able to convert that whatever was generated from our earlier GUI software in CSV format, that radiomic feature can be converted in RDF format using radiomic ontology. So these RDFs were stored in SPARQL endpoint. This is a data server hosted on our in our hospital, and we are going to give description of this data center in GitHub, where it can be findable, but the access to this database will be only on the authorization. In chapter 8, we developed and validated a prediction model in cervical cancer, where we used from our previous study that robust radiomic feature and clinical features as well. And we did the univariate and multivariate feature selection, and ultimately based on that and 4 prediction algorithm, we developed 24 prediction model. And majority of these prediction model, where it was either with radiomic data or with combined with clinical and radiomics, it was having very good prediction performance. And we were able to find that radiomics based random forest model has best performance. So we concluded that robust radiomic feature can predict 5-year overall survival in cervical cancer. In chapter 9, we just discussed that future roadmap, where this self-learning radiomic-based clinical support system may be implemented in clinic. It will give feedback to the clinician to treat the patient, and ultimately treatment outcome will again be fed to the system, and this system will become better and better in the future with its own experience. So to conclude, around 10% radiomic feature were found to be robust and need to be further investigated. Robust radiomic feature were able to predict 5-year overall survival in cervical cancer. Fair compliant AI infrastructure proposed in our study may be implemented in other hospitals, which will open up opportunity to perform multi-centric distributed machine learning studies. Robust radiomic-based prediction model may be generalized across the geographical boundary if developed and implemented carefully, adhering to our recommendations. Thank you for your kind attention. I will give word back to the prorector. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your clear presentation. The opposition will be opened by Professor Hugo Aerts. He is the chair of the Thesis Assessment Committee. He is present online, and he's affiliated as Professor of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine with Brigham and Women's Hospital at Harvard University in Boston and with Maastricht University. Professor Aerts.
Thank you. So, dear candidates, first of all, I want to congratulate you and your supervisor team, including your promoter and co-promoters, for the high-quality work you presented in your thesis that I also enjoyed reading a lot. So I'm going to start the opposition with a question about chapter 6. So in chapter 6, you describe a GUI that was wrapped around the PyRadiomics package. And you can imagine that I enjoyed reading this chapter a lot. And what I was surprised about or intrigued about is that in table 3 of this chapter, you describe the results where, interestingly, you show that the feature values are similar, but that they're not exactly the same. So could you elaborate on why there is a difference, and also if this difference is acceptable, or there's ways how we can actually make this difference smaller and actually really conclude that these features are the same using different feature extraction pipelines?
Dear highly esteemed opponent, thank you so much for your question. And this table gives that compares that our feature extracted from our module, as well as that manually extracted feature with the help of pyrodiomics. As that our module is the extension of pyrodiomic this module, it should give the same value, but our value is not exactly same, it is similar, because we have used another method like blast match to convert that image, DICOM image to NRRD format, where when we perform this manual method, then at that time we used 3D slicer to convert image DICOM image to NRRD format, and that was the reason our report was that extracted features were not exactly same, but it was similar. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your response. And I think that makes sense, that the difference in a pre-processing pipeline will give you a difference of feature values. So related to this, you hopefully are aware that we also did something similar with a GUI that we implemented in slicer radiomics. So the question I have to this is, so did you compare your package to this package? And also, because we have with using this package, we found that overall there was a big problems with using it, in a sense with, what kind of feature values you use and other things. So how do you see, the use of your package for fully reproducible science, but also by having non-experts handling these very complex pipelines?
Thank you so much for your question. And if I correctly understand, you want to, your question is regarding if someone is not having knowledge of this module, how he will be able to operate that. So that's why if you see that we have tried to this optimize or validate this module with the help of PET images, CT images and MRI images as well. And we tried to find out, suppose we performed it manually and we use this software, whether it gives the similar kind of result or not. And I may also agree with you that this package may be validated further, and we have validated with more amount of data as well. And we found that this software is giving you the same similar result as you can extract with directly from pyrodiomic package. And I believe even if it is given to the hand, which is who is not having expertise in radiomics or these kind of module, they will be able to extract it and extract feature, and they will be able to use it. So I think this module will become very handy for those people who are not really expert of that subject, but really they are in clinic and entire data belongs to that. And one more aspect to that was to make clinician comfortable to this technology, so that they will believe in us and they will give us more and more opportunity to perform this kind of study, which will be beneficial for patient as well as that society. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your response. So I also have a question related to your overall approach. So as you are likely well aware, the field is moving towards deep learning-based feature quantifications and models. And a lot of groups have shown superior performance of these methods. So how do you see the value of engineered features and approaches such as pyrodiomics in the future, especially with regard to the deep learning revolution and era that we're currently in?
Thank you for your question. It's really a very important and very pertinent question. And although I used that handcrafted feature, radiomic features and deep learning, many papers have been published which says that deep learning based radiomics can outperform this handcrafted radiomics. But I have some different kind of proposition, because ultimately these models need to go to the clinic, and at that time several questions will be bombarded to you that regarding the explainability of the model. So whether you are able to explain with deep learning, because it is this considered that deep learning models are like black box. We are not able to give the better explanation, but here at least we can give some explanation to the clinician how we are doing the prediction, because they have to ultimately take decision based on that. So in my perspective, I believe that I would like to use these technology like deep learning technology to more harmonize the image to extract the more stable radiomic feature, rather than directly using them for predicting that outcome of the particular disease in oncology. So I would like to use that, but I would like to use to harmonize our image, so that when we will be extracting radiomic feature from that images, and that will be more repeatable, more reproducible, and in that scenario, that radiomics based prediction model can become better and better in the future.
Thank you for your response, and I agree with most of it. So I think I'm out of time, and I want to give the... Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Aerts. The opposition will be continued by Dr. Shyam Vasudeva Rao. He is Associate Professor of Artificial Intelligence at Maastricht University, and he is also affiliated with Forus Health at Bangalore in India. Professor Vasudeva Rao. Please unmute your microphone.
You are still muted there. Please reconnect, or it's not always signal coming in.
Please proceed with the next, Mr. Prorector. He is trying to reconnect.
Okay, I'll move on to the next opponent, and if you are connecting later on, please announce that. So we will move on to the next opponent, Professor Ronald Boulaert. He is Professor of Clinical Medical Physics at University Medical Center Amsterdam. Professor Boulaert.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prorector and dear candidate. Also, I would like to congratulate you with your thesis and the nice work, and also congratulate your supervisors. And herewith, I would like to continue and ask some questions. And my questions actually refer to chapter 2, in which you described that you had a model, a radiomics model, that worked quite well in a single site setting, but you failed to reproduce results or good results in a multi-center setting. So I would like to start with a general question, which is, can you summarize what could be the reasons for failing in external tests or multi-center tests?
Dear highly esteemed opponent, thank you so much for your question. And this In chapter 2, we have described that this radiomix based model is performs very well in single center study. When we do it in multicentric study or external validation, it fails many a time. It was because if you see that imaging itself, so it has several variability. Like we have different kind of scanners, and in scanner that topology of scanner is different with the different vendor. Then imaging protocol followed in several clinics, they are different, and there are different kind of radiomic software which is being used to extract these kind of radiomic features. So all of this, and then because we want to extract feature from tumor, so we have to do contouring of the tumor. So contouring itself, if you see that even one person contours one tumor at 2 times, there will be lots of variability, and there are several studies has been published where that dissimilarity coefficient for self repeated contouring is not more than 0.8 or 0.85. So because of these variabilities in the radiomic which affects that extraction of radiomic feature doesn't remain very stable, and that we have discussed in chapter 6, where that we have performed that radiomic stability studies. And because of that, that feature what you have developed in a particular center or particular clinic, they have a similar kind of image inflow, and based on that we develop a feature, and that whatever best feature you have selected, that might not be repeatable and reproducible features, or that that stable features. And if you are not using using that robust feature or stable feature and developing a prediction model where that the best these features extracted from your that clinic, and that gives you the best performance, then that is going to fail when it will be subjected to the another center imaging based radiomics. So that's why the reason I just mentioned that majority of these models are failing when it is being subjected to some other center for validation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree. It makes sense to first identify features that are robust. And then before you do external testing, do you have any idea how we can already get some idea on the robustness of features using your own data? For example, like a phantom study. Also with clinical studies, you may do multiple reconstructions and do some filtering, or some in PET you can do like shorter reconstructions, use a limited part of your list mode data to reconstruct, to simulate lower sensitivity scanners. So what is your idea before we go to external tests? And I have some additional questions later. Would it make sense to say first internally test the robustness, and how would you approach that?
Thank you for your question. If I understood that question you correctly, then your question is performing this stability study in a one center, will it be validated in other center? Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, to do some internal testing on the robustness of your model and the robustness of your feature. Just using data from a single site, I think you can already do a lot of sensitivity analysis of your radiomics features and your model.
Thank you for this question. And if we see that in our study we used one external data that is rider database, and we performed repeatability and reproducibility study based on both that clinical cohort. But we have also concluded in our chapter that when we want to use this as robust radiomic feature, that robust radiomic feature should be validated in multicentric trial. Once that is validated in multicentric trial, then only we will be able to, currently whatever we were able to produce here, that is from our study and study from another centers. But I completely agree, if we want to this designate some feature as robust feature, it should have gone through multicentric studies and for the validation, and this then only we can say that these features are robust radiomic feature, and with those features only we should try to develop a radiomic model. And another aspect of this is, like, people have started, many researchers have started working also, and we also have started working on that, just to harmonize image itself. Like, you have image coming from 10 sources, then you harmonize that image based on your this deep learning module unit model, and ultimately generate a similar image, and you do perform this radiomic study based on that image, and that will just able to answer majority of repeatability and reproducibility related problems, and we will be able to identify more robust feature which will be implemented across the clinic and across the globe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I agree. Harmonization of image quality could say improve and also lead to more wider use of your radiomics features and model. One of my concerns with a lot of external tests is that because the data is collected externally, the image quality is highly variable and almost randomly distributed. So there's no real structure in the quality of the data. And that's a little bit my concern. So you have data sets with, say, higher resolution, lower resolution, sometimes within one institute, you have multiple scanners. So how would you tackle that problem? Because if you develop a deep learning model to harmonize the image quality, you probably need a large data set to learn the algorithm to recognize those kind of random variable image qualities and to put them into a kind of an harmonized image quality. So my concern in a lot of external tests is that sometimes the model fails not because the model is bad, but because the external data is basically bad. So how would you approach such a challenge?
You may give a short answer, please.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think there are several initiatives has also been started with various societies, like Quantitative Imaging Network, which tries to harmonize that imaging protocol itself and tries to harmonize that equipment itself across the vendor, as well as biomarker standardization initiative, another initiative which works on this extraction of radiomic module. If we use that, and at the same time, and when we have harmonized scanning parameters and all, and then also your machine is going to produce some amount of variability. And in that scenario, if you are using deep learning based algorithm to harmonize is further, it will give you the better result, and that radiomic feature, whatever is extracted, that will be more robust in my view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy with the discussions, and I give back the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Professor Boelaert. The opposition will be continued by Dr. Brigitte Slange. She is Associate Professor of Gynecology Oncology at the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at Maastricht University Medical Center Plus. Dr. Slange.
Thank you, Mr. Director, and thank you, candidate, for inviting me as a clinician on this opposition. Congratulations on your nice research. And of course, my questions will be clinical, because this area of research is completely new for me, and it was quite a thing to read your thesis for me. First of all, I was very triggered about your statement that the ultimate goal of artificial intelligence is to provide decision support for personalized treatment. And my question will, of course, be about this. Because in chapter 5, I was a bit worried about the accuracy of prediction, because you state that repeatability and reproducibility is very much influenced by factors like imaging protocols, like slice thickness, like IV contrast. And I must say, as a clinician, that's very recognizable, because our radiologists mention this subjectively, but in your thesis, of course, now it's very objectivated that it does influence a lot. But how, and then in your proposition number 4, you state that the stable features are excellent predictive value in especially 5-year overall survival. And that is a bit contradictory, in my opinion, because in chapter 5, you say a lot of the findings are dependent on tumor volume. And also in chapter 8, tumor volume is a very important clinical feature you take with you in the prediction. Can you explain to me why you think it's not all about tumor volume, but that the other features weigh equally or not?
Dear esteemed opponent, thank you very much for your question. If I understood your question correctly, that you have a question whether this is that volume itself has lots of predictability, and so why we require this radiomic features to predict that outcome. Am I right? Yeah, thank you. So I believe that volume itself is not able to predict everything what we want, because there might be several clinical endpoint. Like in my thesis, we have just done with one clinical endpoint in cervical cancer, that is 5-year overall survival. But there might be a clinical endpoint that recurrence of the disease, or nodal metastasis, or progression-free survival. So everything cannot be just described by volume itself. So there are, as we have described in chapter 2 and 3, that image is like a treasure for us, and radiologist is able to mine only very few aspect of that images. And if we subject that image with high level this mathematical and statistical algorithm, so we are able to extract many more things from that image in the form of radiomic features, which is representation of many this disease process and many clinical outcomes. So if we use that radiomic feature along with volume also, and many other clinical features that is also able to predict, sometimes we have seen that just TNM staging can give you the very nice prediction of a particular disease type for particular endpoint. So instead of using only one this parameter, it's always better if you use more parameter. And although we go for feature selection, there are very this important step which we perform before developing a prediction model. If we use that, then ultimately we find a very robust feature or a very important feature for the particular prediction endpoint, and at that time and that model developed with that prediction, that features becomes really very robust, and that can give you more confidence rather than developing a model only with the volume. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. So as you stated in chapter 8, that you chose several clinical parameters and compared that to radiomics. and said, well, radiomics has excellent 5-year survival. So I want to translate that to the outpatient clinic when I have a patient with that has cervical cancer. What would it be for help? Because the problem, of course, is not only the different scanning protocols that I have, but also the different electronic health records we use in the Netherlands. So if you need clinical data from health records, it's quite difficult to extract them. Nothing goes automatically. Or would you say that's no problem anymore? If we have radiomics, it doesn't matter if you have all that clinical data. Radiomics alone is enough, and we only standardize all protocols in the Netherlands, and then we can help you in counseling the patient about 5-year survival or treatment response or whatever. Do you think we come to that?
Thank you for your question. I believe that your this concern is very genuine, and if you see that patient population in our country, where I belongs to India, and the patient population in Western world like Europe and America, because of this screening and because of that introduction of this HPV virus, this vaccine, that disease landscape has changed tremendously in India if you compare with Western world. So, but we have performed this study in India, and in India it is very valid, and as we were this paper is not only regarding the development of prediction model. We identified many point over here, and because if you see that in I think our this image 1, we were able to identify that we in our hospital we treated 2,000 patients in certain span of time, and we had only 68 patients data in fullness. So we were lots of information is missing, although we have HIS system since 2002 in our hospital. But then also, because if you see that treatment provided, sometimes it becomes very difficult to imagine the scenario in our country from sitting in this part of the world. Like many patient comes with many investigation, and that investigation is not repeated in the hospital, and though that entire chunk of that data is not available while you are doing digging the data and trying to accumulate the data. So if this prediction model will work in India, if we want to develop a generalized prediction model, particularly in cervical cancer, then we have to perform this multi-centric study, including that various centers in Europe and United States and India. And then that model, even radiomic model, what will be developed, that may be even working well here as well as in India as well. So I believe that if we give ample amount of data, then it will identify that underlying this difference in the patient in 2 different cohort of the patient, and it will be able to do the prediction. That is my understanding of this entire prediction modeling.
Thank you for your answer. And because of the time, we will go on I give the word to the pro-rector.
Thank you very much, Dr. Slange. The opposition will be continued by Professor Hogeman. Professor Hogeman is Professor of Medical Physics at Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam. Professor Hogeman.
Thank you for giving the opportunity to ask questions to the candidate. But first, I would like to congratulate you with a very nice work, and also to include in that the co-promoters and the promoter. Actually, I would like to start with reading out by one of the paronyms out loud one of the propositions, and that will be proposition 6.
Proposition 6 is imaging biomarkers-based decision support systems present in the thesis may be a game changer in oncology. This is chapter 9 of Ashish's thesis.
Thank you. These are indeed big words, I would say, and you refer to chapter 9 in this case, but I would like to make this a little bit more practical and actually go to chapter 8, in which you develop a predictive model to predict outcome, or basically overall survival of cervical cancer patients. And my first question about this is, can you explain to me or discuss how you would like to use this model in clinical practice, such that indeed this will be a game changer in the end for this treatment?
Dear highly esteemed opponent, thank you so much for your question. Actually, I wrote that this may be the game changer. That was my futuristic comment to say that this may be the game changer, keeping something in mind, like we are using biomarkers. That biomarker is able to group the patient in a particular subgroups in a particular disease type. And then based on that, you have a particular treatment option, and that treatment option you are able to utilize. But in that imaging biomarker, if you use the imaging biomarker, it will be able to categorize the patient in various subgroup, how it is that it is done by biomarkers, but at the same time it will give to you the prognostication and predictive prediction of the certain clinical endpoint of the disease. And at the same time, it can be applied for advanced treatment as well as treatment, conventional treatment, to select that which treatment will be better for this patient. So sometimes even with biomarkers, we have seen that many a times even with biomarker identification and a particular treatment, kind of treatment is this offered to the patient, and then also patient doesn't respond to that. So if we use this imaging biomarker, it will have potential in the future. Right now it might not have, but it will have potential in future to dig that more in-depth knowledge about the tumor, and ultimately it will give you that categorization of the patient as well as prediction of various clinical endpoints. That's why I've used that it may be the game changer in the future. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That is clear. So basically you're going move towards personalized medicine in this case. If you look at the results of the prediction models, they have a certain accuracy, and you tested many methods to make such a model. And if you look at accuracy, it's around 0.6, sometimes 7, sometimes 0.8. If you look at the area under the curve, could you discuss what do you think is needed as a minimum to make, let's say, on accuracy, if you want to make decisions for a particular patient? And also maybe you could include in that what could happen if you make, for example, for a patient the wrong decision based on such a model.
Thank you for your question. If I have correctly understood, you want me to say that what will be the minimum AUC or accuracy to use that model in the clinic. First, yeah, thank you. So first of all, I believe our study is a kind of prototype study. And this can, this acknowledge and understand that this model can never directly go to the clinic for utilization. So first of all, we need to validate this model with bigger data, large amount of data, multicentric study, then prospective trials. if it passes through that, and if your accuracy is 7 or more than 7, because majority of time, because always it will be compared with the decision taken by the clinicians. If you see that in majority of time when this particular kind of treatment is offered by a clinician, and we see that this treatment success is not more than 30-40% in many cases. In that scenario, if your accuracy becomes 70% or 0.7 AUC or accuracy 0.7, then I think that will be a very good model to replace that, or not replace, to assist the clinician to take their decision wisely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking virtually at the prorector if I can ask another question, or that I should refrain because of time.
You have time for a short question.
A very short question. You use different methods to make a model: logistic regression, random forest, support factor classifier, and you got all kind of different results. Can you explain maybe shortly how to explain, let's say, the different methods and how that affected the model in the end?
Actually, we used that AUC and accuracy to compare that model, and we also used that nested cross validation to select hyperparameter of the features of the prediction model, and then we developed that model on a train and test basis, and the whatever accuracy we got and AUC, based on that we are not saying that this is the model which should be used. Rather, we say that majority of these models with radiomix and radiomix plus clinical features are doing good, and they may be considered for future studies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the short answer. I give it back to the prorector.
Thank you very much, Professor Hogeman. Well, now we have, in fact, 2 opponents left. I would like to ask our technical support to look whether Dr. Vaduseva Rao has already again a connection.
Please unmute there.
Hello, we can hear you. You have time for about 2 questions, please. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Rector. And I would like to congratulate the candidate on the wonderful work done. Let me quickly get to my questions. My first question is on your first chapter, where you are talking about identification of subgroups. What is the rationale, and how have you arrived at these subgroups, and what is the size of these subgroups?
Thank you, dear esteemed opponent. Can you please repeat the question, because I didn't understand it completely?
Yeah, the question is that the whole process starts with identification of subgroups, right? And these subgroups, or the grouping of these patients or the data, what is the rationale behind this, in terms of size, or in terms of the stages of the disease, and how have you arrived at this?
For your question, and that subgroup we have mentioned for this precision oncology. Like if you see that conventional oncology practice, there we treat that entire patient population, a particular type of disease, with similar kind of treatment. But if you subject that with biomarker testing, then it is divided in many, because there are in same type of disease, there are several other parameters which is not considered in conventional treatment. So when we use that biomarker, it is able to just categorize or differentiate this patient population and various subgroups. And that subgroup you can develop, or there are many drugs which has been developed for the particular subgroup to treat the patient. And once we treat the patient with that treatment, then treatment outcome become better. So I have used in that context. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to my second question. You have in your imaging pipeline, that is in chapter 4, you have made some provisions for these image acquisition, and then you also have the processing, pre-processing. Are you also looking at image registration?
Thank you for your question. I think we are looking from imaging to prediction model development. When we image the patient, at that time we can harmonize that imaging protocol across that clinics. And then when we are drawing an ROI on the tumor, so nowadays we have also developed that auto contouring module, segmentation module, which that your computer itself contours the tumor, and that your efficiency of contouring the tumor again and again similarly becomes better and better. So and then feature this pre-processing, because if you use same kind of this radiomic pipelines, then it will be similar most of the time. And then feature selection and prediction model. So we are taking from we are considering from imaging or imaging protocol, harmonization of imaging protocol to prediction model development in the entire process of radiomics. Thank you.
Thank you. I pass it on to the prorector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, but we have to move on to the next and last opponent. So thank you for your questions, Dr. Shyam Vasudeva Rao. The next and last opponent will be Professor Mottaki. He is Professor of Nuclear Medicine of Maastricht University. Professor Mottaki.
Thank you very much, Prorector. Dear candidate, congratulations, first of all, also from my side for your nice work. It's a very large book that you delivered, so a lot of different aspects you looked at. Of course, also my congratulations goes to your promotion team. I would like to first start with reading one of your propositions, and I would like to ask one of the paranames to read proposition number 2.
Proposition number 2 says, radiomics-based quantitative imaging has the potential to revolutionize medical imaging and support individualized cancer care, as of chapter 2.3 of his thesis.
Yeah. So this is certainly on the one side true. On the other side, the same proposition could have been written already 10 years ago when radiomics was introduced. And we are now 10 years later, and if, at least from my clinical point of view, certainly within nuclear medicine, even more than within radiology, radiomics has not yet arrived in the clinics, in the daily clinical work. So what do you think is the problem behind it, or where are the obstacles that we cannot really transfer it into the clinics? So what is your assumption on that?
Dear highly esteemed opponent, thank you very much for your question. As we see that inherent issue of radiomics, that repeatability and reproducibility issues, what we have discussed in our thesis, and we have worked on that as well. So, and we have also discussed that why these radiomic features are working in single center studies but not working in multi-central center studies, because that we do not have harmonized imaging protocols across the clinic. We do not have harmonized this vendor neutral this softwares, vendor neutral this equipment. So these kind of problem make it difficult to produce reproducible radiomic feature. But if we perform that multi-centric studies with the existing data itself, and we will be able to identify few features, at least few features which will be repeatable as well as reproducible on stability studies. And if we develop a radiomics prediction model based on those radiomic features, then I believe this will work in single center and multi-center centers also, and it will be having that scalability across the globe. So we need to work on that, because we have demonstrated a lot in that area that radiomics is able to predict very accurately in many clinical endpoint in the oncology. Just we need to harmonize that or find out that robust radiomic feature. The day we will be able to do that, and that will be ready, that our prediction model will be ready to hit the clinic and assist you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. I think that's more than true what you put together in your answer. Certainly harmonization is one big point. In looking into different tumor entities, that is what we are doing, of course, in the clinics. At least also what I see in your data, but also in other data, it seems that it's not like one size fits all in radiomics or even in data mining, but it seems to be at least up to some point a rather disease-specific approach where you try to find the best model. So do you have an idea how we could improve that, or is there any way to improve this kind of problem we have? What is your idea on that?
Thank you for your question. I think for improving that performance of radiomics will require multi-step approach, like from this harmonization of scanner across the vendors, then harmonizing the imaging protocol, and then harmonizing that radiomic extraction from that images. And if we are able to do that, then I think radiomics, as I mentioned in one of my proposition also, that radiomics based prediction model may be a game changer, and it will also be very much additive to kind of our this imaging modality, because you will be able to say much more what you are able to give.
Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha, I think you have noticed that the time for defending your thesis has passed. The committee will now withdraw to discuss the quality of your thesis, and in particular the quality of your defense, and please await our return with the results of our deliberation.
The PhD defense has now ended. The degree committee will debate the candidate's performance behind closed doors. This process usually takes about 10 minutes.
Long road to the south side. 7 miles in my rearview mirror, I know what it felt like. My goals only getting clearer, east side to the west side. No place like home, if it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. On the line, I know you know that I can't reach read your mind. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile. Long road to the south side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like, my goal's only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. On the dash, got my laces tied. Long road, I don't waste no time. Break rules because fate decides. With the team and we chase the light. I make a move, fall down, shake it off. I hate to lose, bad branch, break it off. No room for negativity, praise and love. Prepare for deep part cause we're taking off. Take the mileage, traveling so far from home. Gathering knowledge, other connections. I put the time in to get everything I ever hoped for. It's a challenge and we all in. It's a better future that we go for. And even though these nights seem long, I know that I am never on my own. Know you've won the battle once you've grown. South side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like, my goal's only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Long road to the south side, 10 miles in my rearview mirror. I know what it felt like, my goal's only getting clearer. East side to the west side, no place like home. If it's questions that you've got, go the extra mile and die. Years can't fly by now, don't waste all your time. Cause I'll go the extra mile.
Dear Mr. Ashish Kumar Jha, the degree committee here present has assessed the quality of your thesis and the quality of your defense. And in view of its positive verdict and taking into account your previous qualifications, the degree committee has decided to grant you the degree of doctor. Professor Dokker is authorized to confer upon you this academic distinction in accordance with Dutch university custom and law. I invite your supervisor now to take the floor. Professor Dekker.
Thank you.
But before I give you the doctorate, you have to promise me something. Do you promise to work in accordance with the principle of scientific integrity at all times, to be careful and honest, to be transparent, independent, and responsible?
I promise.
Then, by the authority vested in us by law and in conformity with the decision of the committee here present, I hereby confer upon you, Ashish Kumar Jha, the degree of doctor, and grant you all rights attached by custom and law. As evidence of this, I now present you with the degree certificate signed by the rector, the secretary, and the other members of the committee here present, and affixed with the official seal of the university.
Dear Dr. Ashish, so this is the mode of address. This is the format of salutation that we will use in India. Yes, dear Dr. Ashish, many congratulations on this eventful, momentous day. It is a very momentous occasion for so many reasons. Heartiest congratulations from Andre and Albie and myself, and congratulations also to your family and to your friends watching online. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our examiners. And our opponents today. I'm sure I know it's a lot of work, and if at any moment you require Andre, Albie, or myself to return a favor for your students, please, we would be most delighted and honored if you would call on us. So Ashish, this is so momentous for so many reasons. This is the first, I believe this is our first PhD graduate from our group at Tata Memorial Hospital, so that's a number one. Possibly also our first in radiology and nuclear medicine, that's another one. And the first in-person student that we've had, a remote student from India, actually coming here to the aula to defend in person. And we've not had that previously due to COVID-19 restrictions, so there's yet another first. And you know, COVID-19 was obviously a challenging time, but you took on the challenge well, because we know that you use the lockdown as an opportunity to really knuckle down and get some really good scientific work and publication work done. We also know that you're not actually averse to challenge, because ever since you were a young, tender boy, we know that you had to walk 4 kilometers to school every day, and occasionally in the rainy season also have to swim across a river filled with goodness alone knows what to actually get to school. So well done there. Your perseverance clearly shows through to today. You started off studying botany. We're really glad that you did not find happiness in secret herbs and spices, because you would have come to the Netherlands for completely the wrong reason. We're very happy that you eventually decided to do IT and bioinformatics. Then you've ended up in nuclear medicine physics, and finally you are here now in your present position as a head of medical physics at Tata Memorial Hospital. So Ashish, we, on behalf of your supervisor's team, we simply cannot measure easily, radiomics or not, how proud and how pleased we are to see you reach your amazing achievement today. We see and we have watched you grow as a scientist, as a person. You are a very good mentor, a good teacher, and inspiration to others at Tata Memorial Hospital and elsewhere who will, I'm sure, follow you, and an outstanding future leading scientist. A moment of philosophy with us, if you wouldn't mind, Dr. Ashish. I don't believe a giant is a person who lifts themselves up. Everybody does that. It's not terribly special. But a giant is one who lifts others up above himself. And that is a true sign of greatness. And so I, and on behalf of Andre and Albie and everyone else here, I wish you every success and great joy in whatever you do. And I do hope, and I do see, I do predict that you will indeed become a giant of clinical data science Mumbai and India, and hopefully even much further beyond. Congratulations, Ashish.
Thank you.
Esteemed Dr. Jha, dear Ashish, I would like to congratulate you with the honor that you have acquired with your PhD doctorate, and I would like to do that also on behalf of the Board of Deans of Maastricht University. And maybe I may share some impressions of the committee. We have seen a clear and informative presentation, and your thesis we consider as of very good quality. And we have also seen, and we appreciated, the appreciable amount of work, and in particular the developments that you have achieved. And we also have seen that your papers have been published in good journals, scientific journals. And we have seen a good defense, sometimes somewhat long responses, but still generally adequate, and also aware of the clinical aspects of your study. And we also have seen that you have really a helicopter view of the field that you have studied, and we appreciate your defense. I would like to include in my congratulations your three supervisors, and in particular Professor Dekker and Dr. Wee and Dr. Traverso. I would like to congratulate you with this result that we have seen today in the form of an excellent thesis and an excellent defense. And of course, I would like to include in my congratulations your family, your wife and your daughter and your son that I see here on the first row. Congratulations with your husband and respectively with your father. And I would also like to include in my congratulations the other members of your family.
Thank you so much.
And before I end this ceremony, I would like to first congratulate all members of the Thesis Assessment Committee and the Degree Committee, and also would like to thank them for their massive amount of work in reading and considering and judging and commenting on this excellent thesis. And in particular, I would like to thank the external members of both committees. Maastricht University appreciates your contributions. Before I end this ceremony, I would like to invite the 6 opponents, which are all of them are online, as we have seen, and I will give them the opportunity to congratulate you. So please stand here, and I would like to invite the opponents to congratulate you as a young doctor. Professor Aerts, may I invite you as the first opponent?
Yes, of course. So Dr. Ashish, congratulations. Great thesis, great paper, very smooth defense. Well done. Enjoy this great victory. I hope we can work together in the future.
Thank you, sir.
May I invite you, Dr. Sham?
Hello, Dr. Ashish Jha. Congratulations. And I feel very proud that you, fellow Indian, has done a great job, and you not only given also your time in Maastricht University. The good thing about this whole thing is that you are from one of the largest hospitals in terms of number of patients or number of beds, and this gives you a great opportunity all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Ashish, first of all, congratulations. It's a very good event, and I also really enjoyed the thesis. You know, I'm also interested in radiomics analysis, so it really met my interest. I think you did very well. And it was also very nice to meet you in person in Barcelona at the ENM conference. And yes, and I wish you a very good luck in your future scientific work and in your personal life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
May I invite Dr. Slange?
Yes, I want to congratulate you on your nice work, and I'm very honored to be invited and that you opened a new world to me as a clinician. And I do hope that radiomics will enter practical patient care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Professor Hoogman?
Dear Dr. Ashish, it was really a pleasure both reading your thesis but also having a discussion with you. And with that, I would like to really congratulate you with this very nice work and also providing you with best luck for the future. And I would like to introduce not only your family but also all your colleagues in India for doing this great job. So good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then I'm the last person to congratulate you online. I really enjoyed reading your thesis, a lot of different aspects, and I think you prepared a very nice set of interesting data and also interesting reviews. So congratulations on that, and also on your very good defense today. You did a very good job. We really could see that you really know what you're doing. And I wish you all the best for the future, also especially of course in India, but also for your family, and hope to see you maybe at some point also in person. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all who have contributed to this ceremony, and I would like to thank also the two ICT supporters, Luke and Joshua, for their excellent work in having this done properly. Thank you very much. Then it's the time to close this ceremony.